Welcome to the Mental Minute, an AI-generated podcast. Have you ever thought about why you sometimes want that extra slice of cake, like way more than you want to actually stick to those, fitness goals you have for next year?
It's called hyperbolic discounting. Really interesting, actually. It basically means that our brains, well, they tend to want the things we can get right now more than things we have to wait for, even if those future things are, objectively better or bigger.
Oh, okay, I see. So that's kind of like saying I'd rather have $5 today than $10 next week, even though it makes more sense to just wait, right?
Exactly. But there's actually a lot more to it than just, impatience. Like there's a whole mathematical model behind it. It has to do with how our brains understand value over time.
Okay, so tell me more about that. Imagine, I've never even heard of this before.
Yeah.
How would you even begin to explain it?
Okay, let's think of an example, all right? So, remember a time you had two tasks, okay? One was quick and easy, but, with a small reward. And then the other one was this long project, but with a bigger payoff later on. Which one did you feel more drawn to?
Honestly,
Yeah.
probably the quick one. Even if I knew, logically, that the bigger project was the one I should be working on.
There you go. That's hyperbolic discounting. So there's this thing called the matching law by Richard Herrnstein, and it shows formally that we kind of allocate our effort based on, how big the reward is, A and D, how fast we can get it. Basically, that little instant reward wins a lot, even if overall we gain less.
So is that like when you go on social media for that quick dopamine hit, instead of buckling down and working on a longer project that would be more rewarding eventually?
Yeah, that's a great example. But what's really cool is that, well, this is totally different from the way economics thinks about it, right? Like in economics, they use this thing called exponential discounting. It basically says that as time goes on, we want those future rewards less and less at a steady rate.
But our brains don't really work that way, do they? I feel like the first day or two of waiting is the worst. Then as the reward gets further and further away, it gets easier.
Exactly. And that's what hyperbolic discounting is all about. It suggests that we discount the near future way, way more. Like today versus tomorrow feels huge, but a year from now versus a year and a day, well, that feels like almost nothing.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's like when I eat the whole bag of chips, today it's great, but tomorrow I totally regret it. The pleasure now is more important than thinking about later.
Exactly. But the research gets even more interesting. George Ainsley, he did this study where people had to choose, right? Either $50 today or $100 in 6 months. Most people wanted the $50 now. That's not surprising, right? We've talked about why.
Yeah, instant gratification is powerful, but I bet there's more to it.
There is. So then they offered the same people a different choice. Okay. $50 in 3 months or $100 in 9 months. It's the same amount of time, just further in the future. What do you think happened?
People probably changed what they wanted, right?
Right. They chose the $100 in 9 months.
So wait, so it's not that they don't want the bigger amount. It's all about when they get it.
Yep. It's called a preference reversal. And get this, they saw the same thing in rats and pigeons too. It's like, maybe it's built into us, this thing about wanting rewards now. Maybe it helped us survive way back when.
Oh, wow. So it's not like we're being totally irrational. It's more like a survival thing. That's kind of cool, but also kind of scary. But how does this work in real life? Not just with cookies or smoothies.
Well, one way is with addiction.
Right. It doesn't make sense. Logically, someone with an addiction should be able to, see those bad things that happen later and choose to do something different.
You would think so. But this hyperbolic discounting thing, it messes with how we see time. That feeling good right now, like using a substance or whatever, it's just too strong. It's like those future consequences, they feel so far away, so unreal.
I get it. So it's not about willpower, really. It's that our brains are literally looking at those choices differently, depending on when the good stuff happens. Like we're fighting against our own brains.
Exactly. And it's not just addiction either. Think about gambling. That excitement of maybe winning, right now it can make you forget about all the money you could lose over time.
Oh, yeah. It's like our brain is saying, yeah, but what if I win big this time?
Right. That's hyperbolic discounting doing its thing.
Yeah.
Studies show, like with people who gamble a lot, that they don't think about the future as much. It makes those risky choices seem way better in the moment. It's not just logic. It's how our brains see those rewards in time.
Okay, so now we know about it. But what can we do about it? I don't want to just be controlled by this weird brain thing.
That's the big question, right? But the good news is just knowing about it, that's a big step.
Okay, so how do we outsmart our brains? and make choices that are actually good for us in the long run? Give me the secrets.
Well, first, think about this. Some discounting is actually good. The world's unpredictable. And the further away something is, the less sure we are we'll actually get it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, who knows what'll happen tomorrow? That cookie today is looking pretty good.
Exactly. But we can still make things better. One way is to bring those future rewards, closer, at least in our minds.
So instead of thinking about retirement like way later, I should imagine myself like chilling on a beach.
Yes, exactly that. Make it real, not just an idea. You can also connect smaller rewards to bigger ones. If you're trying to say exercise more, give yourself a little treat every time you work out.
I like that. Make the whole journey to that big goal fun along the way, like tricking our brains into being good.
That's it. But gotta remember, everyone's different. Doesn't always work for everyone. And some people, they just aren't as impulsive as others.
Right. We all have different things that make us tick. What works for one person won't work for everyone.
Yeah, and if you're stressed out or, feeling really emotional, you're probably going to want that instant gratification even more.
For sure. When you're stressed, it's way harder to resist those quick rewards.
So that's why I want pizza when I'm overwhelmed. It all makes sense now. But I guess the big takeaway is just being aware of this, right?
Exactly. Once you know about this bias, you can start making better choices. Choices that are good for you, not just impulsive ones.
So, we can choose to be good to our future selves, even when there are all these temptations around.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And that's something you get better at over time. The more you practice, well, the easier it gets. Like exercising a muscle, but for, waiting for good things.
Oh, I like that. So
Mm.
maybe instead of clicking that buy now button, I should think, will I be happy about this later?
That's the idea. It's worth it,
Yeah.
Think about all the cool things you can do when you focus on those big goals, even when there are distractions. I'm ready to start training my brain. No more letting hyperbolic discounting boss me around. Thanks for explaining all of this.
Happy to do it. Just remember, next time you have to choose between something good now or something even better later, think about it. Is your brain tricking you? Is it really worth it to go for that quick reward?
Wow, that's something to think about. We'll leave everyone with that thought. See you next time.